Hello everyone, it's Kari from sunshineinmypocket.com, and today I have 5 cards to share with you using some of the brand new stencil release from Miss Ink Stamps. These stencils are amazing. This first one here is called Kaleidescope, and I'm just going to go through real quick and show these to you. This one is Heirloom Blooms. This one is called Basket Case. Look at all those beautiful fine lines. There's so much detail in these stencils. That one was Latte Love. This one's Oopsy Daisy. This one is Enchanted, and this last one here is called Square Dance. They are beautiful stencils. Today I'm going to use, I think, 3 of these and show you 5 more stencil ideas that you might not have thought about. So for this first one, I'm just going to quickly ink up Kaleidoscope just to show you how this looks. This is one of the stencils I'm going to be using today, and it is so pretty, and it really does look like a kaleidoscope. Basket Case has to be one of my favorites. Look at those beautiful fine lines. I adore this one. And also Latte Love is another favorite of mine. They're all beautiful, but look at this. If I do this in kind of a radiating design with the colors here, it really makes this stencil sing. Look at that right there. So pretty. And then this one here is Heirloom Blooms, probably among my top favorites of this whole release. And I'm going to show you, starting now, some of my ideas for these stencils. The first technique is called patchwork stenciling, where you actually just ink up the stencil in kind of a patchwork design. So here I am just inking up those beautiful, they kind of look like berries to me, in the center with one color of ink. Here I have Evergreen Bough, and I am just inking this up using the Make Art Station to keep this stencil in place. Now these are very fine lines on this stencil, which actually amazed me. I think this is probably one of the finest line stencils I've ever seen, but instead of using pixie spray to hold it down, I am using this new Make Art Station, which I have fallen in love with. It kept everything in place, even with all those fine lines. Now, I took the rest of the open spaces and inked it up with some peacock feathers, and look at this design. This patchwork stencil technique is beautiful, and it really makes different parts of your stencil sing. So I'm going to go ahead and put this card together while we're here. I just have created a mat of black cardstock. I'm going to put that down on there. So I've cut this panel down just a little bit so that I could have that black peeking out of all the edges. And now I've cut out a sentiment that says lucky. I've cut it out with some black cardstock and then some glitter gold cardstock to put on the front. This is a really old die cut that I have. I don't even think it's available anymore, but I thought it was really fun to pair it with that duck right there. So lucky duck. This image is from Miss Ink Stamps, and I'll show you at the end what stamp set that comes from, but I colored this duck up to look like a mallard duck and just placing it right on top with some foam tape. So there's our patchwork quilt, beautiful card there. And now for the second technique, I'm going to take this basket case that I inked up earlier with some peeled paint, and I'm going to stack on top of it the Heirloom Bloom stencil. Now these little berries, this is called the double stencil technique, but these little berries fit almost perfectly in the open spaces of this basket case stencil. So I'm just going to ink up just that portion of the stencil in the open spaces. Now I did have to move the stencil around just a little bit to make it match up correctly, because obviously these weren't made to go together like this, but they are so beautiful when you use them together. So you're going to get a stencil within a stencil look here on this one, and I think it's so pretty, and it adds a lot of interest to the background as well. So I'm just going to finish inking that up, and look here. This looks so beautiful with those shades of green, and I'm going to turn that into a card in just a little bit. But first, let's go back to the Kaleidoscope stencil that I inked up with a little bit of picked raspberry, and now I have some sticky embossing powder, and we are going to use this on the stencil to add some glitter. So I have some Versamark ink. This is a clear sticky ink, and this will allow me to kind of smush it through this stencil here, and then I'm going to pour some of that sticky embossing powder over the top. So it's only going to stick where that clear sticky ink was through the stencil. Just pouring that on here, and then I'll heat set that with my heat tool, but only just until it melts. How this works is you just want it to barely melt. You don't want to heat it too long or it will lose its stickiness. So you'll see here that I'm going to remove that station so that I have my heat resistant craft mat here. And I'm just going to heat that through just until it melts. So that's what makes it sticky. And I'm going to add this Dazzle Dust from Miss Ink Stamps. This is the pink flamingo, and it is beautiful because it is pink, but it also has an iridescent shift to it, so it changes colors in the light. I hope you can see that there. It's really, really pretty. So I just put that on, heat it up just a tiny bit more, and it is stuck there now. For the fourth idea that I'm sharing today is to add some gems to your stenciling. Now I already did some radiating stencil techniques to this one, and now it just lent itself so beautifully to adding some gems. So I added those blue gems all the way around and a green gem in the center, which I actually ended up removing because I decided to put this Hello die cut right in the center. This is another really old die cut that I've had in my stash for a long time, but I'm sure you have plenty of Hello die cuts that you can choose from. I just went ahead and glued that right to the center to create a simple but very eye-catching card. So all I'm going to do is add that with the liquid adhesive, and then I'll add that to a top folding card, and there is our card for that one. Beautiful Latte Love stencil. I love that one. Imagine all the colors you can do with that one too. Now I'm back to the Heirloom Bloom stencil. This tended to call my name this time, and so I am going to do some selective stenciling and selective glitter on this one, but we're doing it a little bit differently. So I decided to ink those up with purple because, as I said, they reminded me of berries, so I'm turning those into boysenberries a little bit here. And now I'm going to add a little bit of my favorite Stardust Stickles just to the center to give it a little bit more pop and sparkle. This is so easy to do. You don't even have to use a spatula if you don't want. You can just put it on just through the stencil. I like to spread it out a little bit though, because then I get an even coating. So I just did that through all of the berries, remove that stencil very simply by removing those magnets. And here you have a beautiful selectively stenciled and glittered background. Now I went ahead and turned that into a card off camera, and I'm going to show you all the cards now. Here is our Lucky Duck patchwork quilt stenciling technique. Here is our selective radiating stencil with the gems. There's the selective stenciling right there with selective glittering. And I just added Alice with some cupcakes and teacups to that one. And here is our basket weave with a little cute goat. There, also from Miss Ink Stamps, and I'll show you the stamp sets these come from. And then there's our glitter that we added with some sticky embossing powder. So that's all of our cards. Here's the tea time sentiment I used on that glitter one with this gnome right here. She's super cute. And then I use this stamp set for the goat and the sentiment that says, "How's it goating?" There's our duck that we used to turn into a mallard for that card. And then I used this Alice and this sentiment from those two stamp sets for this card. And that says, "Would you like an adventure now, or shall we have tea first?" I have a few other stenciled backgrounds that I can turn into cards later that I've used some of the new stencils with. I hope you enjoyed this look at 5 more stenciling techniques and that it gave you some ideas maybe to try some patchwork stenciling or some selective stenciling with glitter. One of the best comments I got on my preview to this card was, "Tea is a perfect prelude to adventure," and I agree. How about trying sticky embossing powder with adding some glitter, or some radiating stenciling with some gems? Maybe try some double stenciling techniques like we did here. This was really fun for me to create. If you enjoyed this video and these techniques, please give me a thumbs up on this video and be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.